Hello guys, and welcome back to our new ASEO Nigeria podcast, where we dive into thought-provoking conversations about the K word and how it relates to us, why we love it so much, and some issues that we want to discuss about it. I'm your host, Adewonya Aderonke, and today we'll be exploring a very intriguing topic, which I titled the representation of Africa in Korean dramas. Many people would never have expected me to talk about this, but I recently watched the drama, and this drama provoked this conversation. So starting off with this, let's just establish the context. K-dramas, also known as Korean dramas, have gained serious popularity worldwide, and they often reflect different cultures and settings. Then I asked myself, how has Africa been portrayed in these dramas? You see, that's a very good question, because the representation of Africa in K-dramas have been a mix of both progress and challenges. If someone should ask me that question, I will personally say representation of Africa in K-drama is a scam. Yeah, I'm sorry to anybody that thinks it's not, but personally I think it is scam. When we talk about representation of identity, of inclusion of Africans in K-dramas, we can say they are showing them, they are there, but not up to the point where we want it to be. We've not seen Africans take leading roles in K-dramas, but we've seen them taking roles in K-dramas. That's a plus for them. But when we talk about perception and perspective of what they think Africa is, it is still zero. Because imagine a drama like Kokudu and the Deity, or whatever the name of that drama is. There's a particular scene in that drama that says they were talking about the guy that is apparently a god, a mini god, and they were talking like, where is he right now? He's in Africa playing with the giraffes. And I was like, really? Which century are you born? Well, why will you have such a backward thinking mentality? So the Africa you think about now is playing with the less privileged children and playing with giraffes, drinking dirty water, no electricity. You can't call him there. And also another particular drama that portrayed this is this drama where is a celebrity, or is it starstruck or something Starsha. He said he went to Africa to volunteer, and the representation of Africa they showed us is he drilling a borehole for the less privileged ones. He said they can't call him because there's no electricity, they don't have a working phone, they don't have internet. Are you for real? Which Africa are you talking about? Is it the Africa of 1990 or before colonialism? Which African country do you think does not have internet connection now? Which African countries do you think does not have drinkable water or does not have light? Yes, we are still working on it. We still have a lot to do. We still have a lot to do before we get this right. But come on, really? But just you know what? Just deviating from that examples, those upsetting examples I've given to you. We've seen the effort to portray Africa beyond this typical stereotype, highlighting its diverse culture, languages, and people. And on the other hand, there have been instances where oversimplification and misinterpretation persist, just like those examples I've given before. It is interesting to note, however, that K-dramas have evolved over time in their portrayal of Africa. I can't doubt that. If you talk about the early K-dramas, I doubt you even say anything about Africa or about Africans in those dramas. But the new and later K-dramas now, they've added inclusion. They wanted to include everybody. We've seen Indian portrayer in K-dramas. We've seen Italian portrayer in K-dramas. We've seen some African portrayers in K-drama. That's showing inclusion, which was not there before in the earliest part of K-dramas. Let me give you some example of how this evolution has taken place. So in the early years, we see African characters were often limited to minor roles or depicted through narrow lenses. However, recent years have seen more nuances in representation. For example, there's a drama called Chocolate, which features an African character who was portrayed as a skilled chef. This breaks away from the typical roles assigned to African characters. I know this is a positive step towards breaking stereotypes, but there are other instances where African characters and African cultures, African narrative has been integrated more authentically. Yes, definitely. Yeah, there is. So take for example, My ID is Gangnam Beauty. That's a very epic movie. Like I think that was the first movie of Cha in Wo that I really watched, that I enjoyed. The drama included a storyline whereby an African exchange student was portrayed as a strong, intelligent character with her own aspirations and struggles. We can say despite this improvement, as I said earlier, it is both progress and criticism. But despite this improvement, despite some of this good depiction, there are still challenges and criticism. There are areas where the representation of Africa in K-dramas fall very short, and I gave some examples. But certainly, while progress have been made, there's still room for improvement. I think one challenge K-drama writers and the K-drama industry have generally, I would say generally, is the tendency to generalize Africa as a monolithic entity, overlooking its vast cultural diversity. Also, some K-dramas may unintentional or maybe intentional reinforce stereotypes through portrayal of poverty, conflict, or it is important to remember that this portrayal can shape perceptions and perpetual biases. And this will bring me to another example I would like to share. This point will bring me to another example I would like to share. I was watching Asian. There's a particular YouTuber on that I like his content. He's called Asian Boss. He was going around Korea and was asking parents about this particular question: will you like your child, who is a Korean, to marry an African? Like 99% of the elderly ones that were interviewed gave a very resounding no. And I don't blame them. This might be because of maybe what they've heard about what Africa is, of what they've heard about who Africans are. Maybe perceptions, like even negative perceptions they've had that reinforce that opinion that no, my child can never marry an African. He says they are dirty. I said, why would you say Africans are dirty? You tend to just generalize Africa. Do you know what Africa is? Do you know how large Africa is? Do you know the countries in Africa? Before to me see trouble. But that's that. I think the media has played a very significant role in shaping perceptions about Africa. Like creatives and the industry as a whole has that responsibility in shaping and portraying Africa more accurately and authentically. And I say this because creative and the industry, they have this very crucial role. They might not know, but they have this crucial role in challenging stereotypes and promoting accurate portrayals. I think this will involve research, collaborating with cultural consultants, and giving agency to African characters by allowing them to drive their own narrative. Like seriously, if you want to write something about Africa, don't just assume from what you've seen on YouTube or what you've heard for over how many years ago. Do your research about Africa. There's a particular thing you want to say about Africa, research about it and know the right thing. Consult with African researchers or people that tend to go deep about historians. They will tell you about things before you write your script, not just assuming that you understand what Africa is or what you want to portray about Africa. I also think authentic representation not only enriches the storyline, but also contributes to a more inclusive and interconnected global media landscape. Because if they are told, K-drama writers or the K-drama industry, that Africa would be a very large consumer of the K-drama content, they would have said, oh, it's a lie. That can't be possible. But if you look at your statistics, right, Africans are one of the consumers of, is it K-drama? Is it K-pop? Yes. There's a recent statistics I came across about the Stray Kids K-pop now. The Stray Kids album, the latest album they brought out, is it 5-star? I think so. I'm not sure. Please correct me. I'm sorry about that. But the statistics were showing Nigeria was the second country that pushed that album to number 1. And I was like, wow. So we have this great power. And that's just Nigeria, not Africa as a whole. So you think about this large media landscape, what can be done if you really portray Africa the right way, not just this monolithic storytelling of Africa being a deprived culture, Africa being this continent that always needs help from foreign countries. Yes, we do need help sometimes, but no, that is not the beauty of Africa. Africa is so enriched with a lot of things. Like, why won't you just do your research and pick great things about this continent and incorporate it into your storytelling? That will even enrich your storytelling and make it something that Africans will want to watch. Like, okay, how did they portray us this time around? With everything I've said so far, I am actually optimistic about the future. Yes, there are good and bad. I understand that. But I believe as creators become more conscious of the impact of their work, that is storytellers, directors, producers, even content creators on YouTube, we can expect to see continued efforts to break stereotypes and showcase the complexity of African culture. I'm still waiting for the day there will be a collaboration between an African producer, a filmmaker, with a K-drama producer. That I believe, I am optimistic about it. I think it will happen one day. You do not know, because the way the K-drama industry has evolved over time, the grip they have on the global landscape right now is very huge. You can't tell me that. You'll be shocked by the amount of people in Nigeria that actually watch K-drama. And I'm not talking about watching old K-dramas, but watching current K-dramas as they are dropping. They are waiting for each episode to drop and they are watching it instantly. I was shocked when I got to know about people like that. That is to show you that there is a lot of potential in the collaboration of the industry, of these two industries, and that is only going to come to work if there's an accurate portrayal of it, and there's a respect for the culture itself, not just something you want to piggyback on. Guys, I know that I was a bit serious. It's not the normal jovial host, but I just felt I needed to talk about this topic because it was something laying very heavy on my heart when I watched that K-drama. I was like, is this how you really imagine or how you see Africa to be? But with this little light I've just shed on this important aspect of cultural representation in K-dramas, well, it is clear that progress have been made and there's still work to be done, apparently, to ensure a more authentic portrayal of Africans and Africa on screen. Well, it's been a very interesting conversation for me, and I would love my listeners to really engage critically with the media they consume. Yes, when you see things like that, we should actually call them out and tell them, please, this is not what Africa is about. Respect Africa and do it in a respectful way to show them that, yes, we are not vagabonds. We are intellects too. Africa is not a backward continent. Africa is a beautiful continent that is still developing, but we are getting there. And guys, this is where I'll leave you for today. Thank you for always tuning in to listen to this podcast, even though sometimes I might be boring. Yeah, I know. But thank you very much for listening to this episode. Until I meet you on the next episode of Anyasi on Nigeria podcast, I hope you stay well. I hope you stay safe. Eat well, drink well, watch a lot of K-dramas, and listen to a lot of K-pop. Annyeong.